Hexagram number 8. Holding together. We hold all things together by holding to what is correct within ourselves. Our inner attitude determines everything. In this hexagram, Kan, the trigram of water, is placed over Kun, the trigram of earth. Water and earth hold together because of their natural affinity. This affinity is symbolized by the strong yang line in the place of the ruler that holds all the weak lines together. Translated into a principle of human behavior, the firm fifth line represents inner independence. If one puts his integrity foremost in his hierarchy of values, so that he never sacrifices it to fear or compromises it to desire, then he is capable of drawing out others' higher natures and of uniting with them in a common moral accord. Holding together with others begins when we hold together within ourselves morally and spiritually, by marrying our inner sense of truth. We follow a way of responding to situations that is called one's Tao. The way that is in harmony with our essential self and with the cosmos. At first, we do not recognize what accords with inner truth, and we find it necessary to sincerely ask the higher power for help. The phrase, "to see the great man," often found in the Ching, means that we must search for the answers within ourselves, thereby awaken and learn to follow the great man within. The discipline of discovering what is true and of being true to ourselves at all times is our work. To help us find inner truth, the I Ching is given us as a guide. The I Ching is not a religion, but a guide to discover the hidden inner truths of life and to help us reflect these truths to others. Our search becomes a spiritual journey that leads to moral and spiritual integration. Through the hard lessons of experience, through misunderstanding and making mistakes, we discover the guidelines that are to be applied in the field of action. Through holding together with these guidelines that constitute our inner sense of truth, we influence others without effort. Lacking them, we are indecisive and unclear, and we invariably reflect our uncertainty to them. This hexagram also affirms that it is a natural human drive to seek harmony with others. It confirms that anyone who develops his potential for greatness, consistency, and strength automatically functions as a center for uniting people. Such a person is a rallying point. Anyone can trust and follow him without betraying his higher nature, losing his dignity, or coming to harm. Only one such well-developed person is needed to hold together all those who surround him. The hexagram questions the reader. Do you possess sublimity, constancy, and perseverance? Forgive me, I'm going to read that again. The hexagram questions the reader. Do you possess sublimity, constancy, and perseverance? This means we are able to retain our inner independence and hold to our principles in the face of challenges and temptations. Are we able to remain firm when we would rather be soft, constant when we would rather be quiet? Forgive me. Constant when we would rather quit, and steadfast in spite of pressures from the emotional baby within that demonically insists that we force matters to a conclusion. Few people on beginning their spiritual journeys possess such capabilities. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Forgive me. The hexagram questions the reader. Do you possess sublimity, constancy, and perseverance? This means, are we able to retain our inner independence and hold to our principles in the face of challenges and temptations? Are we able to remain firm when we would rather be soft, constant when we would rather quit, and steadfast in spite of pressures from the emotional baby within that demonically insist that we force matters to a conclusion? Few people on beginning their spiritual journeys possess such capabilities. Although we are born with them, we lose them at an early age through Although we are born with them, we lose them at an early age through acculturation. Only by being challenged time and again do we regain them. This hexagram forewarns that the situation is here or will soon arrive that will challenge us to hold to our principles. If we allow ourselves to be led aside by considerations that spring from fear, desire, pride, anger, or self-interest, we will be undermined. Weakness is intuitively perceived by others, causing distrust, for no one can rightly follow our ego, which is the source of these weaknesses. If we become aware that fear and doubt and their attendant emotions have their origin in our tendency to wander, want, and worry, then we will avoid the seemingly harmless tendency to look aside that gives rise to wandering, wanting, and worrying. Our path lies in proceeding straight ahead, forgive me. Our path lies in proceeding straight ahead innocently, holding to our inner independence in the face of all challenges, keeping ourselves alert, steady, and serene as the shining lake. Changing line number 1. Hold to him in truth and loyalty. This is without blame. While friendliness may woo people, it does not hold them to us. What holds them is our first loyalty to truth. Sometimes this loyalty requires us to be reserved so that we are misunderstood as aloof and indifferent. Often we let others go through bad experiences. This may be the only way they will see the incorrect attitudes. This may be the only way they will see that incorrect attitudes lead away from their goals. So long as we play lifeguard to those who swim near the sharks, they will feel safe. Letting them go does not mean we cast them off. We cling to the help the cosmos can give. This help is always there for them too. All they need to do is ask for it. Changing line number 2. Hold to him inwardly. Perseverance brings good fortune. It is in keeping with our higher nature to persevere. It is in keeping with our higher nature to preserve and guard our personality. We avoid throwing ourselves away by associating with inferior elements, either in ourselves or in others. Everyone has a superior and inferior nature. When we become comfortable or intimate with another person's selfish, childish self, we not only cultivate the tyrant in him, we diminish our self-esteem and undermine our dignity. If someone is determined to follow his inferior nature, we can only relate to him in a reserved way. When he returns to sincerity and humility, we may relax our reserve a bit and share our thoughts and feelings with him, but we must not allow ourselves to become easy and comfortable. We must maintain our dignity, otherwise his respect will degenerate into insolence. Throwing ourselves away also refers to compromising our principles in the heat of the moment through losing our sense of limits. Instead of waiting to find the correct route past obstructions through becoming detached, we vent our anger and frustration and further complicate matters. Holding together inwardly means soothing our frustrated inferiors and encouraging them to be patient until the way past the difficulty shows itself. Hold to him inwardly also means that we should never give up on others' superior potential. In withdrawing or letting them go, we do not abandon them by dismissing them as hopeless. We hold open the possibility that they will grow and understand. Just as after years of making mistakes, our higher nature has been awakened and we are learning and growing, we must not arrogantly decide the future or forget the sage has ways of teaching and that truth has a power quite in itself to overturn what is wrong and to defeat what is decadent. Through such reminders, we retreat wrong uses of power and return to simplicity and humility, the way of the sage. Changing line number 3. You hold together with the wrong people. Receiving this line means we are off the path, or that we are approaching a situation in which we will be tempted to revert to the incorrect attitude. Wrong people often refers to wrong elements in our attitude, as when we abandon a firm attitude for one that is indulgent. We also receive this hexagram when we dwell on what is wrong. With life, with ourselves, or with others. Holding to what is wrong in others imprisons them in our negativism and protracts lawsuits. As it is put in the Wanderer in Hexagram 56, we hold with our inferiors to allow, we hold with our inferiors and allow them to lead when we harbor incorrect ideas, participate in wrong relationships, or indulge emotions such as pride, anger, or desire. When we allow our inferiors to lead, we lose the help of the creative. Changing line number 4. Hold to him outwardly also. Perseverance brings good fortune. We have been applying Ching principles only to close personal relationships. We are meant as students of the sage to apply them to all situations. We need only take the risk to see how efficiently they work. Changing line number 5. Manifestation of holding together. Good fortune. The fence or enclosure pictured in the line symbolizes the moral limits that apply to relationships. The beaters who drive their deer up on the sides symbolize both the events provided by fate and our efforts to establish moral limits. If someone who has become aware of our limits chooses not to respect them, we must allow him to go his way, because in every case, he must adhere to them voluntarily through his insight. We draw people into a correct relationship only by our strength and consistency. When they perceive that we are firm in our values, they will cease testing or trying to manipulate and dominate us. Then they will become sincere. We cannot presume, however, that they will remain sincere. We must always accept that they can only stay through free will. The image of the hunters killing only the animals that voluntarily expose themselves also refers to the way people sometimes confide their errors to us. We must relate only to the problem thus exposed and not take it as an excuse to discuss other errors we may have perceived. This accords with slow progress and kingly conduct. We do not slaughter all. Changing line number 6. He finds no head for holding together. Misfortune. If we begin a move without firmness, caution, and resoluteness, our position will constantly be undermined. Almost every difficult beginning in which we have cautiously felt our way ends in success. It is the too easy, self-confident beginnings that generate problems. Such situations can be resolved, but each tangled strand must be painstakingly untangled. Having no head refers to our not having established a relationship on correct principles. If we carelessly dismiss someone's insensitive behavior just to get on with things, we pave the way for future difficulties. That which holds things together is a firmly established hierarchy of values. In the process of establishing relationships, we may not skip steps. We must wait until the conditions for unity are made possible by others. Sensitivity and openness, and by their choosing independently to follow the good. Receiving this line indicates that either we have already forged ahead on our own without waiting to be led, or we are tempted to do so. The resulting danger can be surmounted if we correct our attitude. This line also refers to times when, after having gone through a crossroads, we keep wandering. I'm going to read that one again. This line also refers to times when, after having gone through a crossroads, we keep wondering whether we took the right road. It is not important whether we have taken the right road, but whether we have been sincere in seeking to do the right thing. Even the wrong road will bring no misfortune if we remain sincere. For then an opportunity to correct the mistake will avail itself. It is important to go forward and leave the crossroads behind. Otherwise, we have no head for going forward, being preoccupied with looking backward. Still, another meaning lies in our not being able to see the possibility of the great man in another person. By deciding he is hopeless, we also discount the ability of the sage to awaken his higher nature. We also discount the power of truth to accomplish its customary miracles, and we deprive the person we deem hopeless of the space he needs to discover himself. A space we grant him when we remain open-minded. In all these ways, we discount the all-important, all-powerful head of the matter, and so ensure failure. Finally, there are limits to what we can accomplish at any given time in striving for unity. Beyond these limits, we must let people go and turn to our own path. Ironically, to hold with others, we must also remain detached from them. Sometimes it is necessary to leave them behind. Love externally expressed is often not love at all. True unity is achieved through love as patience and tolerance, and as determination on our part to relate to them correctly. Before we can love another, we must become firmly devoted to the sanctity of our inner being, for until we follow good within ourselves, we cannot draw it out in others. When each person's will is independently directed toward good within himself, unity is the natural, inevitable result. By drawing out these potentials in others through our example, we create a movement forward, the great and the good, and thus bring about peace and justice. This completes hexagram number 8.